thanks for watching One Right. Usually you see my dad manning the camera and the projects, but we had a little daddy-daughter project weekend working on a shelf for my apartment, and so you're going to be seeing me on the camera too and explaining our process. When we started, we had no idea what we were going to make, and it turned out completely differently than we expected. This isn't a step-by-step process on how you can make the exact same shelf as us, which wouldn't really be possible because we just worked with what we had and there were some pretty individual pieces. But rather, it's explaining our process so that you can be inspired to make your own unique shelf. I'm moving to an apartment in Seattle at the end of the month, and I really want somewhere to store my clothes that's open and looks good, but I don't want to shovel out a couple $100s for a shelf, so we're going to make this live edge red fur shelf for the apartment, and I think it's going to be way cooler than if we went out and bought one. Okay, so we're trying to uncover the live edge of this red fir plank, and in order to do that we're taking a chisel and a hammer to get off as much of the bark as we can, and then coming back through and cleaning it up, trying to get to the layer that we've chosen, which is the white layer for this apartment rack. Being careful to make sure that your hands aren't in front of the chisel so that you can't slip and cut yourself on accident. So this board has two live edges, but it's wider than our planer, so we had to pick one. So I picked this live edge because it's a bit smoother on this side, and we chiseled off all the bark so that we can fit it through and get as much wood as possible in the planer. And then we marked it at 12.5, which is how much we can fit in there, and snapped a line down it, and then quickly checked to make sure that it would fit in all spots along the board, including the spots with knots and other protruding edges. And now we're going to run it through the planer after we cut this part off. As you can see, the boards after going through the mill are pretty rough on top, so we've cut them into two pieces, one for each of the shelves to make it easier to go into the planer, and we're going to smooth it up and see what the wood looks like underneath. So we're done planing now. We have this really nice bright blonde color of the wood on top, and now we're going to sand it down, get it all smooth, and start working on the legs. We've got this amazing heirloom black walnut gifted to us from a friend, and we're going to try to incorporate it into the legs of the shelving. We're not quite sure yet, so we'll let you know after we figure it out, but it's going to create a really beautiful contrast with the white of the wood, especially once we get a couple coats of polish on there. We're going to use the outside of that log on this end, but on this side we're going to use a couple planks with a live edge to make a ladder frame to hold up the other side of the shelf.
I don't know how to do the things we do.
Alright, so we wanted to keep this beautiful live edge, the bark, from the outside of the tree facing on the outside, so we didn't bring the dado all the way through, because if we had done that, we would have this part just sticking out in the middle of the live edge, which wouldn't look very good. So the only problem is when you do a dado half of the way through, it creates this shoulder right here, and if you just do a regular dado on your brace, then it's going to be leaving the shoulder right there scooped out, which looks unfinished and ugly. So we decided to bring the dado back farther on the brace and then use the sander to shape the end of it to fit into here. And now we have a perfectly shaped dado that doesn't leave any shoulder showing, and we still maintain our live edge. Alright, so now we're going to glue the dados into each other so it can be an extra firm hold. And in order to do that, we're going to be spreading this all over here. After you finish that, you're going to want to sand it down. We also use a rounder to get these nice clean round edges. You can leave it without the round edges, but it's going to look more finished if you sand it off and get everything nice and smooth. Now you can hardly believe this is the hard work wood we were working with earlier. It's super soft. Then after that, we took some of this bended steel that we had lying around and cut it into pieces, and this is what we're going to use to hang the shelves on. We cut these angle irons to use as a brace for the shelving, and now we need to drill some holes in there so that we can screw it into the outside braces. We screwed the braces into all of the places that we needed to and put it together, but now we're going to take it all apart again, finish it, and then put it together one last time. Alright, so we sanded everything down one last time, and now we're going to put on a satin lacquer varnish on top of it. It's just going to be something light to bring out the natural beauty of the wood. You're going to want to, at first, just try to get a coat over the whole thing using long strokes with the grain. And then later you're going to go over it again. So we wanted to keep the shelves minimalistic, but they need a little bit more support. So we custom made some brackets to keep them up, and we're going to spray paint these as well as the shelf brackets I showed you earlier. So a good way to spray paint these is to put a little hook through them, just a random piece of metal that we have laying around, and that way you don't have to lay it down, spray paint one side, wait for it to dry, and flip it over again. When you're spray painting, you don't want to be holding it there for one place for too long. You want to just keep it moving, and that way you won't get drip marks with the paint. And less is more. We're going to come back and do it again in an hour when the paint dries. So this is just about perfect. And then we're going to just hang it up on here, and then it can dry. Sweet. So after that, we threw on another coat of spray paint and another coat of polish on the wood and put it all back together. Sorry we don't have any footage of the final result. We were in a hurry to get to Seattle and didn't have time, but I gotta say, I think it looks great in my apartment. So thanks for watching One Right, and we'll see you soon.